From the Blackberries on the B-side, Season 2. Part 2, with the brilliant brother Thomas Fuller. The other question that stood out was, how many seconds had a man lived who was 70 years, 17 days, and 12 hours old? Thomas replied, 2,210,500,800. Again, in less than 2 minutes. One of the men eagerly objected to discount Thomas's answer, citing his calculations were much smaller. Thomas quickly responded with these words, "Stop, massa, you forget the leap year." The observer adjusted for the extra day every 4 years and reluctantly accepted Thomas's answer. Their observations of Thomas Fuller's computational brilliance was later submitted to the Abolitionist Society of Pennsylvania. A decade later, in 1790, Thomas Fuller died on the Cox Farm near Alexandria, Virginia. He was 80 years old. The Columbian Sentinel, a Boston, Massachusetts newspaper, which is now the Boston Herald, noted in his December 29, 1790 obituary of Thomas, and I quote, "Thus died Negro Tom, the famous African calculator, aged 80 years. He was the property of Mrs. Elizabeth Cox of Alexandria. Tom was a very black man. He was brought to this country at the age of 14 and was sold as a slave. This man was a prodigy. Though he could never read or write, he had perfectly acquired the art of enumeration. He could multiply 7 into itself, that product by 7, and the products so produced by 7 for 7 times. He could give the number of months, days, weeks, hours, minutes, and seconds in any period of time that any person chose to mention, allowing his calculations for all leap years that happened in the time. He could give the number of poles, yards, feet, inches, and barley corns in any distance, say the diameter of the Earth's orbit, and in every calculation, he would produce the true answer in less time than 99 men out of 100 would produce with their pens. Had his opportunities of improvement been equal to those of thousands of his fellow men, neither the Royal Society of London, the Academy of Science at Paris, nor even Newton himself need have been ashamed to acknowledge him a brother in science. Mr. Thomas Fuller was famously known as a Virginia calculator, and since he never learned to read or write English, we know his brilliance came from Africa. When someone who witnessed his brilliant abilities remarked that it was a pity he had not been educated in America, Thomas replied, "It is best I got no learning, for many learned men be great fools." All I gotta say to that is,
He ain't lying.
and with that, Mr. Thomas Fuller, from the bottom of my heart and my fellow brothers and sisters who did not know of you but do know of you now, we thank you for your contributions.